The worst tank in War Thunder. This can be a very hard spot to fill because of War Thunder's over 300 tanks. So for this tank, I chose the tank that when I played it, I thought was the worst tank. And this tank is the French H-35. In this video, we'll look into what makes this tank so bad. And if you really want to play it, we'll have some tips and tricks on how to use it today on Tank Talks. Let's look into the H-35 more closely. First, let's look at its armor. From what we can see here, the H-35 has good armor for its battle rating, clocking in at 40mm on the front turret and 34mm on the front hull. And for the side, it has 34mm on the hull and 40mm on the turret. So armor-wise, this tank is very good, and you would almost want another tank to be the worst tank. But this heavy armor makes the tank very slow, having a top speed of 19 miles per hour, which is very slow for any tank, even in later ranks, while other tanks of its battle rating have speeds of 30 or more miles per hour. Let's see how its armor will do if it got hit by an enemy tank. The first tank we have here is the Panzer IIIe. Both of these tanks have a battle rating of 1.0, so these tanks will come in contact a lot. The Panzer IIIe could only penetrate the commander's cupola, killing one crew member, which would immobilize the tank. For our next tank, let's try the Russian BT-5. The BT-5, like the Panzer IIIe, is a 1.0, so it will also face the H-35 a lot. As we can see here, the BT-5 can knock out the H-35 in one shot, so the slow speed due to the thick armor will make it an easy target for the BT-5. Let's look at one more tank, the American M3 Stuart. The M3 has also destroyed the H-35, making it a target for now 2 tanks, plus the other ones we have not looked at. Now let's look at the interior of the H-35. It has a huge ammo rack on the right side of the tank, which if it gets hit, it will explode and kill everyone inside. Also, it has a crew of 2, so if one dies, the tank will be immobilized while a new crew member is replaced, or if you do not have this modification yet. This will result in an instant crew knockout. Now let's look what War Thunder Wiki has to say about the H-35. The main points are that it has good armor, but it is slow, only has 2 crew members, and it has a very bad gun, which we'll get to in a second. If you want to look at the H-35 on War Thunder Wiki more closely, I have the link in the description. Now let's look at the main reason I think this is the worst tank in War Thunder, and that is its gun. The H-35 has a SA-18L/21 37mm gun that has one round that can only penetrate a horrific 36mm of armor at 10 meters and only 24mm at 500 meters. Plus, due to the short barrel, it has a big muzzle drop-off, so this makes it very hard to mid to long-range fighting. Its gun is so bad, War Thunder Wiki recommends trying to shoot at a tank's tracks or engine, so the enemy tank is a more easy target for allies. But let's say even after all of this, you still want to at least try out the H-35. Then keep watching, as we are now going to look into the tips and tricks for the H-35. One of the most important things to remember while playing the H-35 is stick with your teammates. Due to its bad gun, you will rarely win one-on-one fights, so if you do come across an enemy, it's best to have allied tanks with you to protect you. Second, try to have a hull down position. Your turret armor is the thickest, so it will work best to cover up your hull. If you get stuck in an urban map, stick with your teammates and set up an ambush. By flanking a tank, you have a much higher chance of penetrating the side armor. Lastly, if all else fails and you need to retreat, have your engine face the enemy and drive off. With the engine facing the enemy, this will help protect your crew. Also, When retreating, don't drive backwards. This is slower than forward speed, resulting in a more speedy escape. Overall, the H-35 I think is the worst tank in the game. Now, just because it is bad does not mean all other French tanks are bad. In fact, many are very good, like the Lorraine 37L, S-35, and the Sau 40, and these are all in rank 1. What do you think? Do you think the H-35 is the worst tank in War Thunder? Or do you think some other tank is? Leave your thoughts in the comments below.